Welcome back to Shades of Blue. My name is Willie Daniels, and we are continuing our episodes with Mr. Victor Glover to tell about his experiences on board the International Space Station and what it took for him to become the astronaut and individual that he is today. You know, I know you went to Ontario High School, and you were an athlete there at Ontario High School. How could you tell a little bit about your high school, and then also in closing, I would like to ask, what would you like to say to all those future astronauts out there that want to follow in your footsteps, and all those other individuals? Because in aviation, for example, I realize that not everybody wants to be a pilot. Everybody can't be a pilot, but there's a whole host of other opportunities out there for them in terms of a career choice to be involved. They can be involved in the aviation industry or the space industry, you know, dealing with the FAA, and I get a big kick out of that because most people don't realize that you mentioned earlier with the FAA designating individuals as astronauts. Well, the FAA is the number one regulatory agency in the world for both aviation and space. And you can't get to space unless you go through the layers of blue, the shades of blue. And so that's, I had to throw that little pundit in there. But in wrapping up, if you wouldn't mind telling a little bit about your high school and some words of wisdom for those individuals that want to follow in your footsteps.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing up my high school. I graduated from Ontario High School in Southern California, and that was a great experience. The Ontario Jaguars, class of 1994, my closest friends still to this day, were a group of folks I met then, and it was a very influential time in my life. Really, at that time, I remember 16 very vividly wanting to go to USC and be a Trojan because that's where Marcus Allen went. And so that's about as big as I was dreaming. I wanted to play football like Marcus Allen. And I didn't really think a whole lot beyond that, at least on a consistent basis, but I had mentors who told me, hey, you're good at this math thing. Keep focusing on those academics. And I listened to them. And in high school, I had two instructors whom I keep in touch with to this day, Mrs. Robin Ikeda, my AP biology instructor, and Mr. Gerald Robinson. And actually, I keep in touch with my track coach from Ontario High School, Coach Cook, Dave Cook, who is still down there encouraging young people. He's not coaching anymore, but I had some amazing folks that were inspirations to me, and they invested in my development. My English teacher, Mr. Marin. I mean, so many folks, I could just name this list of people. Our coaches down there, my coaching staff, Coach Stauffer. I just had some amazing people that I was able to learn from and listen to. And I think that's another important part of it. My time in middle school and high school and university, actually even up through now, I think if I had to pick one thing, some people think that my career is like magic or was destined. It was not. I worked really hard to get to the place that I started that got me here. I worked hard to get to the beginning, and then I worked hard through the middle, and I'm still working hard now. It was not predetermined. But I say that because it was not magic. It wasn't predetermined. But it also it required that I listen. And that's the thing. If I had to pick out one thing that I can see from my childhood to now, that is, I don't want to say most important, but it was important throughout the entire time. Different phases, different things become important. But one thing that has been a consistent throughout my life is I had these wonderful parents and mentors, and I think it was most important that I was listening to them. I wasn't always doing exactly what they told me, but I was listening. And then later in life, I was putting together solutions and making decisions about which way to go by listening. And even today, I talk to my wife and my kids before we make plans for our family. And so that's a huge thing I want to encourage the young people today to do. Listen, it's so important. The world is throwing so much at you. Social media and the internet and the news It seems to never cut off. It's a constant cycle of information, and it can be overwhelming. So also listen, but also know how to get to truth. Know what it means. Know what truth is, primary sources, and what we call first principles. Know the basics. Those are things I think will help you your entire life. Again, critical thinking and analysis, breaking the complex problems down into the simple pieces, and then taking simple pieces and being able to craft real world solutions. Synthesis and analysis. It requires work. It requires you to think, listen, and work together. And then I'm just going to reiterate something that I said to you earlier. I think this applies whether you want to be an astronaut or a good parent or whatever, anything across the spectrum of professions. These things, I believe, are universal and widely applicable. And I'm still trying to do them myself. And I think teachers and students should try hard to do these. Be resilient. Don't just go through the challenges that life is going to throw at you. Grow through them. You get better. You go to the gym and you put weight on. You put on resistance because that's how you get stronger. And you lift a little weight, then you lift more, and then you lift a lot. And that's how you get stronger physically, but also intellectually, by practice and by hard work and by conquering challenges. So go through those challenges, but come out the end better. Be resilient, number one. Number two, be a lifelong learner. Some specific things for, especially for those students who haven't yet gone to college. If you're in middle school, high school, these are habits you can build now that are going to help you be successful in college, because college is more challenging, especially when you study science, math, engineering. But these are some habits you can create now that will help you be successful when you get to college later. Start learning about foreign languages and foreign cultures. That's an important piece. A foreign language can change your trajectory in life. Being an astronaut, we have to study Russian. I speak a little Russian because half of the space station was built by Russian aerospace companies. So foreign language and foreign cultural understanding change the way that your brain is wired, and it helps you to understand and retain more information. You start to see things that, like words in Latin are where the names of lots of things in English come from. And so understanding a foreign language can really help inform the rest of your education. And here's another thing about foreign language. I include computer programming in foreign language. So, you can learn Mandarin Chinese or Arabic, or you could learn Java or C++ or how to program a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino device. Computer programming is a foreign language. Also, taking time to review. You go to school all day and you either sit in one classroom or maybe 5 or 7 different classrooms. No matter how many classrooms you're in a day, take 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the day to review every class. If you have one class, make it 15 minutes. If you have 5 classes, give each one 10 minutes. If you have 7 classes, at least 5 minutes. But that 5 minutes will help you do a few things. Identify things you don't understand. Circle the stuff. Hey, I actually missed that. Circle it. It makes sure that you can read your own handwriting. Circle it if you don't understand it. And then when you go to the teacher the next day, you can ask a very specific question before they start going into the new material to make sure that you don't fall behind. 5 minutes of review has statistically been proven to help students go from average to excelling, from C's to A's and B's. 5 minutes per class is not a huge investment, and it can make the difference between being average and being on the honor roll or the dean's list. Take the time. So being a lifelong learner, it's about learning in the classroom, but also in church, in your academics, in your extracurriculars, and then being able to synthesize that real world experience. And last but not least, being a good teammate. You look at the news, and there's so many things going on in the world, and so many things that it seems are trying to divide us, that we need to find ways to love and to work together and to be together and to find ways to be unified. And you don't have to be the same or think the same, but when you go out in the real world and try to get your first job, you're going to work with people whom you didn't choose. And that's the world that you're going to grow into. And so you have to start training now how to be successful in that kind of an environment. And it starts by you first trying hard to be a good teammate. Learn to be civil, being respectful to the person on your left and your right and in front and behind, and expecting people to be respectful of you. Don't allow people to disrespect you, but don't allow yourself to be disrespectful of other people. And if you can do that, be a good teammate. Those are the 3 things that I believe are vital to not just you achieving your personal goals, but that's how we as a species, as Homo sapiens, as humankind get ourselves successfully through the next generation and beyond. So to you young people, I want to challenge you. Be resilient, be a lifelong learner, and be a good teammate. And those are the things that I think are going to help us have a bright future. Thank you.
No, Victor, thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to piggyback on a couple of things that you just mentioned. You know, like going in the gym and working out and making your muscles strong. You talked a little bit about it, but your mind is also a muscle. And so when you put knowledge up there and you're basically exercising that brain, that muscle inside of your head to learn more and be able to expand. And that's a very, very important point for the students. Taking notes in school. You know, when I go into the classrooms and I talk and, you know, to the students, I tell them the difference between, like you mentioned, between an A and a C is 30 minutes a day. They take notes in the school, but when they go home, before they turn on the television to watch a cartoon or watch some sports or whatever it is they want to watch, just revisit those notes that they took in school. That's going to make the difference between being a C student and an A student. We started up a program on September 11th with the Fontana Unified School District and a school district that you're very familiar with, the Chaffee Joint Union High School District, which is part of where you grew up at, with the Ontario International Airport. And so the former COO of Ontario, Mr. Bruce Atlas, came together and said, Willie, we want to do something in this area and with the kids. So we have about 60 students from those two different school districts that we're working with. And this Saturday, I'm on my way out to California for their first 10-week graduation ceremony. Half of the kids studied in space, learning how to build robots and engineering. The other half studied in aviation. And, you know, to my surprise, 100% of those students wanted to continue that program starting in January. But the difference is we're going to swap them. Those who study space are now going to come to aviation. Those who study aviation are now going to come to space. And being able to do that, as you mentioned earlier, getting a well-rounded background of knowledge that will carry them well into the future. And so I'd like to send out an invitation to you at some point in your time, if your schedule permits, maybe come out and be able to visit with some of those students at Ontario International Airport. I'll send that invitation out to you, excuse me, at this point in time. And if your schedule permits, that would be fantastic to have you come out and be a part of that. And we'll just have a great time out in California. But with Victor, with all of that being said, I can't thank you enough, man. You know, I know you have an extremely busy schedule, and to take it away from your wife and your kids and your work and everything to come out here and be a part of this, I think it's all inspiring for the kids that will be able to see this across the world. Yeah, because you're not just exposing kids in just one area, you're exposing kids across the entire world. So I want to thank you deeply and for being my very first guest on Speaking with the Captain, that's hosted by Key Code Media and the Shades of Blue organization. Thank you, Victor, for being part of this historic event.
Well, thank you, Captain Willie Daniels, and thank you to Shades of Blue and Key Code Media for making this possible. It's been a pleasure, and to all of the children out there, it's been great speaking with you virtually, and keep dreaming big, working hard, and achieving those amazing things. And Willie, I hope to see you sometime in the near future.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it, okay? I'm going to try to come over to Texas here before too long.
Definitely. Come on out.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching this episode of Shades of Blues Speaking with the Captain. We will have many more amazing guests for you to enjoy hearing about their life's experiences. I am Captain Willie Daniels, and we will see you next time.